You're about to peel back the curtain on a truth so raw, so fundamental, it will shatter every comfortable lie you've been told about women and desire. For too long, you've been force-fed a toxic fantasy that being the nice guy, polite, agreeable, always available, is the golden ticket to a woman's heart. This pervasive myth, propagated by movies, pop songs, and a society obsessed with softening masculinity, has systematically disarmed you, training you to be a man women like, but never truly crave. Think back. From childhood, how many times were you told to be sweet, be patient, be polite, be understanding? These well-intentioned directives, innocent on the surface, laid the groundwork for a profound betrayal of your own masculine essence. Without realizing it, you meticulously sculpted yourself into a man who moves cautiously, speaks gently, apologizes for merely existing, and then sits there utterly bewildered, wondering why women never feel anything deeper than lukewarm friendship around you. You became predictable, safe, emotionally inert, and in the high-stakes game of desire, predictability isn't just boring, it's a death sentence. But here's the brutal, inconvenient truth no one dares to utter in polite company. A woman is not primarily drawn to the man who makes her feel safe. She's drawn to the man who makes her feel something. Something visceral, something unexpected, something electric, something she cannot fully control or easily define, that if you've ever found yourself asking, why does that guy, the one with less money, fewer traditional good looks, and a decidedly nice demeanor, still effortlessly command more feminine desire than me? Then you're standing at the precipice of this deeper understanding. It's not because he's a jerk. It's because he operates from a different paradigm. He's unpredictable. He possesses edges. He doesn't fold himself into the convenient shape she expects. His very presence impacts her nervous system in a way yours, with all its carefully curated niceness, simply doesn't. While you meticulously soften your tone, he sharpens his energy. While you rush to reply instantly, he chooses when and how he will engage. While you strive for agreeable harmony, he stands firm in his authentic, sometimes challenging, self. While you chase comfort, he masterfully creates tension. And let me be unequivocally clear. Tension is the undeniable oxygen of feminine desire. Here's the gut-punching reality. You are not losing because you're too nice. You're losing because you are emotionally flat. You are predictable. You are linear. You are safe in the most detrimental, desire-killing way imaginable. A woman doesn't fantasize about a man who is always available, always compliant, always predictable. She fantasizes about a man she could lose. A man whose silence carries more weight than 1,000 compliments. A man whose eyes declare, I choose you, not please, please pick me. A man who radiates his own intrinsic value without needing to announce it or beg for its recognition. And this is the part that stings the most because it dismantles years of ingrained conditioning. You don't need to memorize clever lines. You don't need to manipulate anyone. What you desperately need is to stop betraying your own powerful, authentic masculine energy. Because the very moment you cease begging for external acceptance, the very moment you stop trying to be the perfect man society groomed you to be, the very moment you step into the raw, untamed, magnetic version of yourself that women actually feel, that's the precise moment the entire game flips in your favor. In this deep dive, I'm going to expose the profound psychological shift that transmutes you from invisible to magnetic, a radical internal reorientation most men never even consider, a shift that fundamentally rewires how a woman responds to you without you needing to utter a single extra word. If you're truly ready to stop being the man women like and instead become the man they simply cannot ignore, then let's embark on this journey. The addiction to female validation is a silent epidemic, silently eroding the strength of modern men. Most men live in a state of quiet desperation, constantly monitoring external cues to gauge their own worth. They measure their value by the speed of a woman's reply, the warmth of her smile, the number of likes or emojis on a social media post. This insatiable hunger for validation transforms you from a man of inherent value into a supplicant, perpetually kneeling, begging for emotional crumbs. You mistakenly believe that by being overly available, overly agreeable, and overly eager, you are demonstrating interest and dedication. But what you are actually, and often unknowingly, broadcasting to her subconscious mind is a far more desperate message. I will do absolutely anything to be chosen. My entire sense of self-worth is entirely dependent on your approval. This isn't merely conjecture. Decades of social psychology research confirm this detrimental pattern. Studies have consistently shown that men who display excessive eagerness, neediness, or a pervasive desire to please are perceived as significantly less attractive. Why? Because neediness inherently signals a profound lack of options, a fundamental deficit in self-sufficiency, and an inability to self-validate. It communicates on a primal level that you are a man who needs her to complete him, rather than a man who is already whole, grounded, and chooses, from a position of strength, to share his rich world with her. Women are not drawn to men who subtly or overtly sell themselves cheap. They are drawn to men who exude an intrinsic sense of value, men who convey, through their very presence, their calm demeanor, and their decisive actions that they are present by choice, not by frantic, desperate pursuit. The core of the problem isn't your kindness itself. It's the insidious fear that underpins and often distorts your kindness. It's the fear of rejection, the fear of being perceived as wrong, aggressive, or too much, the fear of losing her fleeting interest. This deep-seated fear manifests as an obsessive attempt to be perfect, to anticipate her every need, to meticulously avoid any potential friction or disagreement. But desire, authentic, burning desire, thrives precisely on friction, on contrast, on the unexpected twists and turns. When you diligently eliminate all edges, all challenge, all mystery from your interactions, you inadvertently extinguish the very spark that ignites her curiosity and draws her in. You effectively become a perfectly smooth, utterly predictable, and ultimately forgettable surface. Consider the profound dynamic of power. Not power wielded over others, but the far more significant power of mastery over yourself. Seduction, at its most sophisticated level, is a silent, intricate dance of emotional power. The man who incessantly chases is, by definition, powerless. He is constantly reacting to her cues, desperate for her approval, rather than confidently leading the interaction. The man who truly attracts is in profound control of his own emotional state, his own precious time, his own valuable attention. He doesn't feel the compulsive need to constantly entertain, to endlessly please, or to ceaselessly seek reassurance. Instead, he meticulously cultivates an aura of serene calm, an intriguing unpredictability, and a subtle, engaging challenge that inexorably pulls her into his orbit. He intuitively understands that desire flourishes in the fertile ground of uncertainty, in the tantalizing possibility of what might happen, and in the delicious fear of what could be lost. He doesn't smother her with relentless attention. Instead, he strategically offers calculated doses of his presence, periods of intriguing silence, and even moments of playful, calibrated provocation. He makes her wonder. He makes her lean in. He makes her subtly chase him. And that, my friend, is the most potent and enduring form of attraction. This method is labeled dirty, not because it advocates anything immoral or disrespectful, but because it brutally forces you to confront an uncomfortable, ego-shattering truth. You haven't been losing because women only like jerks. That's a comforting, self-serving narrative designed to shield you from deeper introspection. You've been losing because you've been playing this game without strategy, without profound psychological insight, and crucially, without consistent emotional composure. It's dirty because it demands that you ruthlessly dismantle the romanticized illusion that merely being kind, attentive, and available is sufficient to be desired. It compels you to rise from your metaphorical knees, to cease begging for emotional crumbs, and to begin operating from an unshakable foundation of genuine masculine presence and self-worth. The single most fatal mistake is attempting to seduce by being excessively clean, excessively safe, excessively predictable. You don't realize the extent to which you inadvertently weaken your own position every time you meticulously attempt to be perfect. Every instance you soften your tone of voice to avoid sounding aggressive. Every time you carefully measure each word to meticulously avoid being misunderstood. Every single time you reflexively say it's okay when deep down nothing is truly okay. In each of these moments, you subtly diminish yourself in her eyes. You transmute into an anxious candidate, perpetually vying for approval, rather than embodying a man whose very presence effortlessly commands respect. Feminine desire does not blossom in a climate of constant, unwavering softness. It thrives in the dynamic interplay of calm strength, compelling presence, and a healthy degree of underlying tension. Softness, when offered in isolation and without an anchoring strength, degenerates into emotional submission. And emotional submission, by its very nature, annihilates any trace of sexual tension. You present yourself as an impeccably perfect man, but often you are too impeccable to be truly desired. You mistakenly believe that extreme kindness equates to maturity, that constant availability signifies genuine interest, and that a pervasive lack of conflict inherently proves strong character. But within the ancient primal psychology of attraction, these traits often signal something entirely different. They signal fear. Fear of losing her, fear of upsetting her, fear of being unequivocally rejected, fear of revealing your true, multifaceted shadows and being found insufficient. This underlying fear subtly leaks into your every interaction. It appears in your strained smile, in the anxious timing of your replies, in the way you subconsciously adjust your posture when she draws near. And when she instinctively senses fear in you, she does not feel desire. She feels an unsettling predictability. And predictability, I repeat, kills instinct. Evolutionary psychology is strikingly clear on this matter. Women, while valuing security to a degree, do not solely seek it. They profoundly seek emotion, intensity, a subtle challenge, and decisive leadership. Classic studies in mate selection repeatedly demonstrate that traits inextricably linked to social dominance and unshakable self-confidence carry significantly more weight in igniting female desire than does exaggerated, performative kindness. It is not kindness in itself that stifles attraction. It is kindness weaponized and used as a defensive shield to mask profound insecurity. The man who is excessively impeccable, perpetually available, and overtly eager sends a devastatingly clear, albeit silent, message. I am entirely at your disposal. Please just choose me. And anything that is perpetually and readily at someone's disposal instantly, tragically, loses its inherent value. She is not pulling away from you because you are too good. Let's be unequivocally clear on this. That pervasive narrative is merely a comforting, self-delusional excuse you have constructed to avoid facing the far more uncomfortable truth. The problem lies elsewhere. She pulls away because you offer no compelling tension, no intriguing contrast, no healthy, stimulating form of emotional instability. You fail to provoke her primal instinct. You fail to activate her natural curiosity. You fail to awaken her innate sense of challenge. Your behavior is linear, flat, and emotionally sterile. And when everything is meticulously clean, utterly safe, and perfectly predictable, absolutely nothing is exciting. Groundbreaking speed dating research conducted at Northwestern University revealed something many men tragically ignore. Initial attraction and partner choice are predominantly driven by a person's raw presence, compelling attitude, and unwavering confidence. They are not driven by perfectly rehearsed speeches, by behaviors rigidly aligned with what seems correct, or by declared, well-intentioned intentions. The man who incessantly tries to please invariably loses to the man who simply exists with force and authenticity. The man who desperately tries to be the ideal candidate loses every single time to the man who knows exactly who he is deeply and unapologetically. The real world and the primal world of attraction rewards authentic attitude, not polite, subservient submission. Therefore, the truly applicable method begins with a profound internal rupture. Stop trying to prove that you are a good choice, because this very act automatically places you in the devalued position of someone who constantly needs to be approved. Instead, show your standards through your very being, through your compelling behavior. Cultivate a firm, grounded posture, operate at your own unhurried rhythm. Maintain unwavering clarity in your gaze. Do not reply immediately to every message or call. Do not be instantly available for every conversation at any given moment. Do not over-explain your intentions. The man who explains too much implicitly reveals he is trying desperately to convince, rather than emanating inherent, undeniable value. And the governing rule is exquisitely simple. You choose to. You are not present to beg for scraps of attention. You are present to evaluate and to discern. When you deeply absorb and embody this profound truth, she instinctively feels it. And when she feels this shift in your energy, everything, and I mean everything, changes. The truly dirty method is masterfully creating profound emotional tension without ever explicitly asking for anything. The silent, insidious mistake that systematically destroys your inherent strength begins when you attempt to seduce by asking. You ask for her attention, you ask for her replies, you ask for her precious validation, you ask to be seen, to be acknowledged. Your subconscious gestures, the content of your messages, the anxious timing of your responses, all of it subtly, yet undeniably, reveals a profound emotional dependency that you desperately try to disguise with superficial friendliness. But in the unforgiving realm of raw attraction, the one who asks has, quite simply, already lost. The dynamic does not operate in the simplistic way you've been conditioned to imagine. A woman does not gravitate closer because you overtly display neediness. She gravitates closer, drawn in like a moth to a flame, when she perceives that you exist within an energy field that pulls, that creates an invisible gravitational force, making her want to participate in your world. This invisible, magnetic field is the fundamental separator between the man who incessantly chases and the man who effortlessly attracts. Reciprocity and the powerful principle of emotional scarcity profoundly govern this intricate game. Gelini psychology is clear and universally applicable. Everything that is scarce inherently gains value. Conversely, everything that is given too freely and abundantly inexorably loses its impact. The dirty method, here, is not rooted in manipulation. It is rooted in the masterful control of rhythm. It is knowing, with surgical precision, exactly how to dose your attention, how to ignite and sustain curiosity, and when and how to reveal carefully calibrated vulnerability. You do not deliver overwhelming intensity in every single message or interaction. You do not make yourself instantly available for every single conversation she might initiate. You do not recklessly pour out your precious energy like water on parched ground. Instead, you offer focused presence and undeniable quality, rather than an illusion of infinite, desperate availability. Emotional scarcity is not coldness. It is a powerful demonstration of supreme self-control, and this, precisely, is where the expectation break occurs. She is deeply conditioned to a ubiquitous pattern, a relentless parade of men running after her, men over-explaining themselves, men desperately trying to prove, again and again, that they are different. When you appear in her world with an unshakable calmness, genuine interest devoid of frantic rush, without any palpable urgency, and crucially, without any underlying neediness, you ignite something within her that she will rarely admit out loud: profound curiosity. The question that begins to echo in her mind is both simple and incredibly powerful. Why is this man not competing like all the others? This is the pivotal moment you begin to exist on her radar as a compelling exception, and exceptions, by their very nature, are intensely desired. Science provides robust confirmation of this fundamental dynamic. Research from institutions like the University of Rochester unequivocally shows that individuals value partners far more when those partners maintain a strong sense of emotional autonomy, when they display clear interest without exhibiting underlying dependency, when they forge genuine connections without completely dissolving their own identity into the other person. Attraction inherently increases when there is a delicate yet powerful balance between authentic presence and intriguing mystery, between meaningful connection and the clear demonstration of having your own vibrant, fulfilling life, between genuine warmth and a calculated, strategic distance. This is not about being absent or coldly detached. It is about embodying a man who is utterly complete within himself, yet still, from a position of strength, chooses to be there, present and engaged. Applying this profound method means entering the game of meticulously controlled tension. Never reply as if you were constantly holding your phone, breathlessly waiting for her next message. Your response time, whether consciously or unconsciously perceived, dramatically reveals your underlying level of self-sufficiency and self-possession. Break the predictable pattern of always being overtly pleasant with light, playful provocations, subtle and intriguing contrasts, and an elegant, unapologetic sincerity. And when you unequivocally notice that she is showing clear interest, resist the desperate urge to rush and close everything at once. Increase intimacy gradually, calibrating your pace with exquisite precision based on her genuine return, always leading the rhythm, and crucially, leaving ample space for her to lean in, to invest, to participate actively. It is this carefully managed space that paradoxically creates intense attraction. It is this space that stimulates her to pursue. Now, if you want to understand this psychological game in its breathtaking depth, if you want to master the art of creating irresistible tension, if you want to calibrate your masculine energy with pinpoint accuracy, and if you want to read feminine behavior like someone who effortlessly perceives the subtext behind every glance, every gesture, every word, I reveal all of that inside my advanced training. There, I teach you the actual, fundamental mechanism that makes a woman truly desire a man. It is not a series of scripted lines. It is not a cheap trick. It is not theatrical role-playing. It is a profound, coherent system built on deep psychology, nuanced behavioral science, and the intricate dynamics of emotional interplay. It is a mechanism that will irrevocably transform your presence into something magnetic, something truly impossible to ignore. This kind of transformative knowledge is not scattered randomly across the internet because it demands meticulous structure, crystal clear clarity, and precise, disciplined application. The brutal truth of application. How to wield this method with integrity, without descending into failed manipulation. The very first and most crucial mistake you need to systematically eliminate is the erroneous idea that strategic composure or calibrated distance is synonymous with a profound lack of character. Many men, upon hearing about a dirty method, immediately jump to the conclusion that it advocates disrespecting women, lying, overtly manipulating, or cynically playing with their emotions. This very interpretation, however, vividly reveals precisely what you most urgently need to address and fix within yourself: your own deep-seated insecurity. Emotionally fragile men, lacking internal fortitude, often attempt to control every interaction through deceit, through rehearsed speeches, through elaborate masks, and through cheap, transparent games. The true dirty method is, paradoxically, the absolute antithesis of that. It demands a level of raw honesty and authentic truth from you that you have likely never before had the courage to embody. It requires genuine, unshakable presence, crystal clear intention, and unwavering self-control. Those who manipulate are inherently desperate. Those who genuinely dominate are profoundly centered within themselves. The psychological foundation of this entire approach is both simple and profoundly impactful. Self-control and an unshakable sense of self-worth are the immutable pillars of mature, potent seduction. Extensive studies on emotional self-regulation consistently demonstrate that individuals who maintain mastery over their impulses, their time, their energy, and their reactions are universally perceived as more confident, more secure, and inherently more stable. And emotional stability, far from being perceived as monotonous or boring, is, in fact, a powerful, attractive force. A man who does not react immediately, who does not allow a single message or glance to derail his entire mood, who does not collapse at the slightest hint of interest from her, becomes an exceedingly rare and valuable presence in her world. Rarity, by its very nature, possesses immense value, and value, unequivocally, generates profound attraction. And here lies the profoundly dirty part you must unequivocally accept. You cease being needy without ever needing to ask for permission. You abandon the desperate quest for external approval and, instead, begin to operate entirely from your own robust, unyielding internal structure. The deepest, most impactful expectation break is this. The real dirty method is to assume, without a trace of fear or apology, that you are a sexual man, not a desperate teenager, not a romantic idealist hiding behind the deceptive mask of friendship, not a nice guy, riddled with shame regarding his own innate desire. You are, quite simply, a sexual man, clear, direct, calm, and utterly self-possessed. A man who looks, who feels, who desires, but crucially, a man who controls his own desire rather than being controlled by it. This is profoundly seductive because it activates the natural, ancient polarity between authentic masculine energy and responsive feminine energy. She does not desire the man who pretends he wants nothing. She desires the man who wants, clearly and unashamedly, but who does not need. The dirty method is precisely this exquisite balance. Intense internal conviction paired with serene, external composure. No masks, no urgency, just raw, authentic power. Science overwhelmingly supports this foundational truth. Research from institutions like Florida State University demonstrates that women are consistently more attracted to men who skillfully combine three essential elements: confidence, assertiveness, and self-control. This is not aggression. This is not submission. It is the precise, magnetic point between unwavering firmness and tranquil serenity. The man who effortlessly embodies this powerful balance activates the very parts of her brain related to both primal safety and exhilarating excitation. He becomes desirable not despite these qualities, but precisely because he conveys an unshakable emotional stability and a profound inner strength simultaneously. This combination is exceedingly rare. This is undeniably magnetic. This explains, with piercing clarity, why some men effortlessly command attention and desire while others ceaselessly fight for every single crumb of recognition. Applying this method in your daily life demands an unflinching, brutal honesty with yourself. Stop hiding your true intentions behind the convenient, deceptive veil of fake friendship. If your underlying motivation is genuinely romantic or sexual, then align your behavior unequivocally with that truth. Not with aggression, but with a commanding, grounded presence. Speak calmly. Look with unblinking clarity. Do not incessantly over-explain yourself. Do not fall into the trap of trying to justify every single gesture or word to avoid being misunderstood. Your behavior, your very energetic signature, should effortlessly carry your intention without ever needing to draw an explicit picture. And above all else, calibrate your energy with meticulous precision according to her authentic response. If she steps back, you gracefully step back. If she advances, you calmly sustain the tension, allowing it to build. This masterful rhythm creates both deep trust and escalating desire simultaneously. It is the timeless dance of attraction, finally led by a man who profoundly understands what he is truly doing. This is the crucial bridge between the common man, perpetually guided by fear, and the truly magnetic man, powerfully guided by clear, unwavering intention. And this is precisely where your behavior begins to speak with far greater resonance and power than any words you could ever utter. When you internalize and embody this profound chapter, you stop playing like a bewildered beginner and begin operating as someone who truly, fundamentally comprehends the complex emotional field where seduction naturally unfolds. From this point onward, your very identity transforms. An identity, in its essence, is the most potent attractor of all. The dirtiest method, the ultimate paradigm shift, is to irrevocably stop living on your knees in front of female validation. The profound truth that brings this exploration to a close is the one that most deeply unsettles, the one that most thoroughly corrodes the ego of any man who has spent his entire life painstakingly trying to be the perfect man, the chosen one, the accepted one. The dirtiest, most effective method to genuinely attract any woman has absolutely nothing to do with cheap tricks, manipulative games, or memorized, scripted lines. It begins, rather, when you decisively break free from the suffocating emotional cowardice that has subtly, yet profoundly, been guiding your life since adolescence. It is dirty because it ruthlessly destroys the meticulously clean, idealized image you so carefully constructed of yourself. The image of the perpetually polite, gently spoken, endlessly available man who naively believed that merely being pleasant was sufficient to be deeply desired. Seduction, in its rawest, most potent form, does not emanate from emotional cleanliness or sterile niceness. Seduction emanates from powerful, authentic presence. It arises from the immense internal strength you undeniably possess, but which you do not carelessly hand out to anyone who asks. It originates from a man who acts decisively, with conviction, not the man who perpetually begs for acceptance or attention. Philosophers like Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, but not the childish, crude power of dominating someone else. He spoke of the far more profound, internal power of dominating yourself. Seduction begins precisely there, when you gain absolute control over your impulses of neediness, when you definitively stop acting like someone constantly seeking permission, when you cease viewing the woman as merely a source of external validation and, instead, begin to perceive her as a beautiful possibility, a captivating opportunity, but never, ever, as your sole salvation. The will to power is what inherently grants a man the right to choose. And the single greatest, most brutal difference between the man who consistently conquers and the man who perpetually suffers is heartbreakingly simple. The first chooses, the second desperately begs to be chosen. The contrast between these two worlds, these two ways of being, is stark and utterly brutal. The common man lives in a state of perpetual dependency on her reply. He lives tethered to the hope of a message that might arrive, the fleeting look that might appear, the elusive like that temporarily reassures him he still exists in her world. He acts as if every single interaction were a decisive judgment of his entire being. The man who powerfully applies this profound method, however, intrinsically understands that his life, his purpose, his very existence, does not revolve around the ephemeral nature of female interest. He diligently constructs his routine, rigorously cultivates his body, sharpens his mind, and relentlessly pursues his overarching purpose. He elevates himself first, fundamentally, and allows genuine desire to be a natural, inevitable consequence, a byproduct of his elevated state. He doesn't chase attention because he possesses the deep, unshakable knowing that authentic attention naturally chases those who embody real, undeniable value. And robust scientific studies unequivocally confirm this transformative path. Research into the complexities of attraction consistently shows that women respond far more profoundly and consistently to stable self-confidence, to a clear and compelling purpose, and to masterful emotional control than they do to isolated physical beauty, quickly acquired money, or superficial showmanship. It is not fleeting, superficial brightness that truly attracts. It is profound, unshakable internal strength. The man who positions himself with absolute clarity, who confidently holds his own powerful silence, who does not need external approval to validate his very existence, activates feminine desire in an inevitable, almost elemental way. Psychology leaves absolutely no doubt. What connects women most powerfully and deeply to a man is the primal sensation of standing before someone who profoundly, effortlessly dominates himself. The closing of this deep dive is not intended to be an emotional hug or a comforting platitude. It is an urgent, uncompromising call to responsibility. None of this transformative knowledge works without consistent, deliberate practice. None of this works without disciplined repetition. None of this works if you persist in feeding and nurturing the fragile, needy version of yourself. Seduction, in its truest form, is a sophisticated symphony of astute reading of others, powerful, authentic posture, compelling, congruent energy, precise, calibrated rhythm, and crystal clear, unwavering intention. It is not magic. It is not predetermined destiny. It is a conscious, deliberate, and powerful construction. The dirtiest method demands immense courage, precisely because it demands that you decisively abandon the comfortable, yet utterly unproductive, position where you have felt safe, but where you have never, ever truly won.